Hi, this is Greg, tying at Anglers All. Thanks for watching another video of ours. Today I'm going to be tying you one of Randall Kaufman's tungsten beaded CDC flashback pheasant tail. It's a mouthful. So what we've done here is we got a Tiemco 200R, a 7/64 tungsten copper bead. This is a size 12 hook, so that matches up nicely. I'm going to first wrap in some lead wire, and this is diameter 0.015. This should take about 13 wraps. Break it off. It's really soft material. And then basically at this point I'm just going to scooch that right into the center of the bead. Hold it so when you break this back piece off by helicoptering it off, you just don't strip it completely off. Using some Dansville 6/0 brown thread. Of course you could use black, whatever you'd like. Start my thread right behind the wire, and then with my tag I'm just going to bring this tag forward on my side of the hook, and I'm going to trap that tag in on my side. Then I'm going to pull it over to the opposite side and trap it in over there. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just wrapping, I'm giving a little extra support for this thread so it doesn't find a hole and run down and make a little aneurysm of this soft lead wire. Now right behind the wire I'm just going to add in a small copper wire. Just place it right in front of your thread, make a wrap, get it on the hook. On my side, I'm just going to run touch wraps all the way down until I get right above the barb of the hook. And then now we're going to grab some pheasant tail, probably about 8 little pieces here. 8, 10, it doesn't really matter. I'm looking for bulk for the tail and also the body. I'm going to hold them by the tips, strip that off the stem so my tips will remain even. Tail is going to be about half the length of the body, and lay them down at a 45-degree angle, and then with my thread I'm just going to make a nice little soft wrap. Take a look at those, see if they're long enough, short enough. If I need to make them a little longer, I can just unwrap and then put them back right where I want them. It's about 2/3 of the way. I'm going to like them a little shorter, so let's go right there. Okay. Lift this up. Then I'm going to bring my thread up to the lead, and then with my thread wraps I'm just going to kind of fill in this little gap so I have more of a carrot-shaped taper to this fly from the tail up to the thorax. If I wanted to make this fly a little fatter, a little heftier or beefy, I could certainly make this even bigger. Could even start with a little bit more thicker wire up at the thorax. So now I'm going to wrap my pheasant tail forward with little touch wraps so that all that herl pops up off the hook shank. Tie that off. And at this point, I'm going to tie in some size medium flat pearl flash. Going to have a little bit coming up off the front of the hook. I'm going to reserve that and use that later. Basically, you just want to make sure that this flash is tied right on top of your hook. And it's real easy to get this off to the side. Okay, now grab my wire, make a wrap right underneath the tail. That kind of helps pop that tail up a little bit. I'm going to grab the flash, lay it right down, trapping it with a wire. And now I'm just going to rib this wire forward. About 6 wraps to do that. Tie it off. Helicopter your wire off until it breaks. And then I could come back here and trim off this back piece of flash. Now I'm going to use this here in about 2 steps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that backwards, tie it in, come back onto my wire just a little bit, determining the length of my thorax. Get about 5 pieces, 6 pieces of pheasant tail, or I'm sorry, peacock herl. This is the strung peacock herl. And I'm going to tie that in right behind the bead, bring it backwards to right where my thorax is going to start, then wrap this forward. So I come up to the bead, want to make sure that's nice and tight in there. No big gaps. Actually feel it pop in. Then I can pull the last part of my flash forward. Tie that off, a couple wraps. Then I'm going to pull it back. Wrap backwards, couple little touch turn wraps. That way this is now tied in at 4 different spots and it's not going to come apart. CDC, this is a natural gray, but you could certainly use brown. I know some CDCs or colors are a little hard to get these days, especially the natural. Basically what I've done here is I've stroked some fibers back off the tip, and I'm going to tie that stem in, a couple of nice tight wraps, pull that tip backwards, tie that off, and then I'll cut that little tip out. Grab that with my hackle pliers. Fold these backwards, all these little barbs. I'm going to make about 2 wraps here. Sometimes it's 1.5. Kind of have to determine now with what piece is giving you. Tie that off nicely. Going to do another wrap to secure it in there. Cut that stem out. Stroke some fibers back, get it out of the way of your thread. Build up a little piece here. It's usually about the width of your eye of thread, and making sure everything's tied in nicely. And then at this point, we'll just whip finish. And we are done. Again, try to fish this behind a big dry fly. Maybe you could even just straight nymph this as well with another fly behind it. But typically I'll fish it with a big dry down to this guy and then another smaller fly below it. If you have one of these little fibers that doesn't look good, you want to get out of the way, instead of cutting it, just grab it with your fingernail and break it off. It'll look a whole lot more natural than if you went in and cut it with your thread, with your scissors. So there we go. A tungsten bead flashback pheasant tail by Randall Kaufman. Thanks for watching today.